So thank you all for being so active in the breakout rooms. It looks like there are lots of great questions. I think we got through a good chunk of them, but if we haven't answered your question yet, there's still a chance we'll get it answered. And those we don't answer, we'll be compiling responses and getting them back to you. So the last thing we want to touch base on today is we know that we've shared a lot of information. We know that there are lots of questions. So we want to emphasize that there are going to be more sessions to help you all prepare for some of these funds. So our last session for today is going to talk about those additional resources. And you may want to mark some of these dates down on your calendar and start signing up. So I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Clark McCain, to talk to us about the additional resources coming up.
Thank you, Maggie. Good morning, everyone. This has been an incredibly full morning, ranging from the city's overview of this program to breakout sessions with lists of different grant opportunities to breakouts where we got to learn a little bit about the process. And so if you are coming to this point after a couple hours and you feel a little bit overwhelmed, that is why there are additional resources available. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what opportunities you have in coming weeks and months to learn more and to become better acquainted with the process of acquiring a grant from the city. The additional resources that we'll walk through are ones that are available to you for the next several weeks and months. And they're really in three forms, if we can move to the next slide. There are topic-specific webinars that will be available each month to help you prepare your organization to apply for a Chicago Recovery Plan grant. There are weekly small group workshops to review a current grant opportunity that's available to you. And then there's individual counseling that's specific to your needs and available to you to talk about your current challenges. And we're going to talk through each of these in a little bit more depth. And in doing that, I'll introduce myself. So Maggie, if you could move to the next slide. My name's Clark McCain. I'm with the Women's Business Development Center. We're one of 10 organizations, 10 nonprofits, which are delegate agencies of the city. So we applied for a grant and we, along with 9 other organizations, received one to help deliver the services of the nonprofit capacity building program. So we're very similar to how your organizations might be in moving down this journey. The webinars that are available here in the coming weeks are these 4. The first one is on corporate governance. And corporate governance is the system by which organizations are directed or controlled. If that's a new term to you, then this webinar is absolutely for you. As you may have learned earlier this morning, one of the requirements in submitting a grant application will be a list of your board of directors, the members of your board. That's part of corporate governance. So this session, which will be offered by an attorney who's familiar with the nonprofit sector and works with nonprofits, will help you understand what corporate governance means, what are the critical elements in the corporate governance of your organization, for instance, a board of directors, board committees, things of that nature. That all will be covered as part of this webinar. We also learned this morning that most of the grant opportunities available here are reimbursable grants, which means that if you were to receive an award, your organization would perform services for a period of time and incur costs prior to being reimbursed for those expenditures through the grant. So therefore, that creates cash flow issues and challenges, and sometimes the need for other lines of funding. So our second webinar is Fundraising 101 for small nonprofits, which would help your organization explore what are ways to generate revenue in different ways that might help to defray that cash flow gap before you are compensated for the work you do as part of a grant. As you apply for a grant, we also know that an important element of that is a budget that characterizes how you will expend funds, what you'll be doing with the grant resources you might obtain through an award. And our third session helps you think about taking your program from strategy, from design, to an actual budget. So how do you develop a budget? How do you really understand the costs that your organization incurs to deliver the services that would be delivered through a grant? Our third offering here will cover those topics. And then additionally, we heard a little bit about sam.gov this morning. Sam.gov is really a key gateway through which an organization would access and apply for federal grants. If you're not familiar with what that is, here's a session precisely for you. So these webinars are much like what we experienced earlier today. They're opportunities for you to join and learn about a particular topic in concert with other attendees. If we might move to the next slide, please. Every week on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock, we host small group workshops. So these are opportunities for you to meet with contemporaries at other organizations and share your challenges, hear those of others, and collectively learn how to be more successful as we proceed through this journey towards a city contract. In each of these sessions, we'll be reviewing one particular grant that is available at that particular time. And that's just an example. It may be a grant opportunity that is relevant to your organization. It may not be. But if you have not seen an RFP before, this would be an opportunity to walk through one with an experienced advisor who can point out particular aspects of that RFP that you should be mindful of, things you need to think about and be prepared for when you do find a request that is appropriate for you. So that's an opportunity every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. Next slide, please. Additionally, we have individual consulting services, and these are services provided by both the Women's Business Development Center and the Greater Auburn Gresham Development Corporation. There are counselors within those organizations and others that are experienced in this grant process and can help your organization with individual questions that might arise. So there are a number of time slots available to you each week to sign up for a one-on-one individual session. Next slide, please. Additionally, the University of Illinois at Chicago will be offering 2 additional summits that will unfold later this year. You can see the 2 dates on this screen, May 18th and August 17th. There will be additional events just like today, or very similar to today's, where we can gain additional information in a larger group setting about this program. So to register for all of these, you use the exact same process that you use to register for today's summit. So you're all veterans in doing this, but just to go through it a little bit more, we'll walk through a few slides that show the screens that you'll need to do to access these programs. And it is a 2-step registration process for any of these opportunities. There's first a registration page that's available off the City of Chicago's landing page for the capacity building program phase 1. And so you'll find that page. You'll register your interest in a session, whether it's a webinar, a summit, a small group workshop, or one-on-one counseling. And then you'll get a return email
You need some more
that will
water?
enable you to finalize your registration. So we'll just show you those slides.
Clark, you were muted.
Okay. If you could move to the next slide, we'll show those screens. So this is that landing page that you would have all visited to register for today. That's the first part of it there. If you were to scroll down to the bottom on our next slide, you will see that there's a button. We could advance to the next slide, actually, please. Thank you. There's a button at the bottom of that page that you can click on, and that will take you out to a registration form. So please advance to the next slide in the presentation. And you'll see that form. So on the left-hand side of the form, there's descriptive text, which helps you understand the various different elements of the program. On the right-hand side, there's the actual form that you would be filling out for your organization. Please, if the next slide you see there, if you have filled out this form before, and of course, since you're all here, you can scroll down to the line that says, have you previously completed this form, and select no. And that will move you directly down to the program selection area of this form, where you can choose which type of event that you would like to attend and get a drop-down menu to particularly select that webinar or that counseling opportunity. The next slide will show you what the screen will look like when you do submit that form. So this is success. That means your form was submitted, and you can click on either of these links as appropriate to either go back to the City of Chicago landing page or to submit another request to attend a different event. Then finally, on the next slide, you will get a return email, and this is how you can complete your registration. This is the second step of that process. You'll get an email that will contain either a Zoom registration link or a link to another registration platform where you can sign up for individual counseling. So that is the process that we wanted to share today. We can advance to the next slide. You'll see the contact information for BACP. Additionally, I will note the contact information for this project. Email address is readyforrecovery@wbdc.org, and I'll put that in the chat shortly. And we encourage you to participate in any or all of these sessions that are available to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Clark. So folks, if you have questions about registering, please drop them in the chat. We have a few minutes for Q&A. Some of the questions are getting answered in the chat. Folks are dropping links. We do have one question for you, Clark. So if someone is having an issue getting links, how can they resolve getting the registration link?
Please feel free to use that Ready for Recovery email address, readyforrecovery@wbdc.org, and we'll follow up on your individual registration questions.
Perfect, thank you. All right, and that email is in the chat. If folks want to go ahead and copy that and save it, you can contact Ready for Recovery at WBDC if you're having any issues. I'm going to give folks a moment. So there is a question if this presentation will be sent out to everyone via email. All of the resources won't be sent out via email, but they will be posted online, and we can let you know when they are posted online. So you can find them most likely at the WBDC, or excuse me, BACP website. All right, let's see if folks have a few more questions. All right. If folks do think of other questions, please drop them in the chat. If we don't answer them here, we will try to get you an answer at a later point.
Could I just share one more thing? Sorry. We would love, I know that Maggie shared this at the top, and sorry, maybe you're about to share this again, but any feedback you can offer us on the content here will really help inform our future quarterly sessions. We are doing our best to really tailor it and make sure that it's valuable and relevant and segmented. But of course, always happy to be learning and doing better next time around. So would be very grateful if everyone could take a few minutes at the end and complete those surveys. Sorry, Maggie, if I interrupted you.
No, that is the perfect segue, actually. So if folks don't have questions, we are going to take this opportunity to ask you for feedback. So we do want this to be designed to meet your needs. So please, if you can, pick up your phone or open a web page browser and do this now, since we have a few more minutes until noon. So you can scan the QR code. It'll take you right to the feedback survey, or you can go ahead and type in this short link to your browser. It should take you no longer than 10 minutes. Let us know what worked, what we can improve on, and what kinds of sessions you'd like to see.
I have a question. Is there a list of topics that are going to be discussed on the Wednesday sessions?
I can respond to that, Maggie. The Wednesday sessions are very flexible. They're created to respond to the needs of the participants. So they really are an opportunity for you to bring the issues that you're experiencing and discuss those. And therefore, we do not have set topics each week.
Okay, thank you.
I also have a question about those sessions.
Please go ahead.
Is there any rules about if you're currently in the process of applying for a soon to be submitted RFP? Are you guys able to maybe not look it over, but maybe answer some more pertinent questions, or is that out of scope?
I'd say what you're describing is probably better for a one-on-one counseling appointment.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so that's where I would go first. The small group workshops are a little bit more general topics that multiple folks might be experiencing.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Hi, Maggie. I was asking a question in the chat. It was concerning the breakout rooms. I know you all mentioned that we would be able to get those videos, the ones that we weren't able to access, maybe
Mhm.
be able to get those to our email or something like that. That's what I was asking about.
Oh, sure, great. Yes, all of the breakout room recordings will be available. We can send folks a follow-up email letting them know where they can find them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm. I think we also have someone with their hand raised. Alexis Waddell, do you want to go ahead and ask a question?
Yes, we had a bit of a discussion in relation to whether or not an organization is incorporated with a Chicago address or not. And I wanted to know how that affects the support within the women business development for those one-on-one opportunities. Is that a factor in being able to kind of take advantage of those opportunities for the one-to-one support?
Those opportunities would be available to you.
Okay. Regardless of address.
We do have a general preference for folks that are doing work in the city. We're not kind of policing that very strictly.
Okay.
If we get to capacity issues, that may become an issue, but it sounds like based on your needs, and I was in the earlier session with you, I think you'd be welcome to join us.
Okay, thank you.
And the other thing that I would note on the topic of webinars is these monthly webinars are being added as they're being prepared or they're being scheduled week by week. So if you don't happen to see the one that you're interested in, just wait a little bit and it will probably be added to the roster and you can register soon.
Thank you.
Okay, then I'm gonna wrap us up. If folks don't have any more questions, I do want to say thank you to all of our guest speakers today. Thank you, Clark, for sharing additional resources. And thank you to everyone for staying engaged over the last 3 hours. This is really important work that we are all trying to do together. So please let us know how we can do better in supporting you for your work. I'm going to leave this on the screen if folks want to stay and provide feedback in the last few minutes, but otherwise hop off as you need to. And thank you everyone for making this work possible here in Chicago. So big shout out to everyone. Thank you, and everyone have a great day.